Hey, welcome to the download. What'll it be? So hello, everybody, and welcome to yet another edition of the Lowdown at the Down Low. We get one-on-one with the cast and crew of the audio series Heroes of Extinction. As always, I am your host, Jason Braden, and today we have the legendary, the amazing, the brilliant, the adventurous, the pen, Mr. Jerry Cornell. How are you doing today, Jerry?
I am good. I don't know about all that, but I was kind of a big buildup. So now the pressure's on to impress the audience. But I'm good. I'm good.
I give everybody a build-up because there's just been so many amazing people I've been talking to so far.
I'm just a guy. Just doing simple things, easy things, fun things.
But we've known each other for a couple of years now, and this has been a long time coming. I mean, this show was your idea. You and Andrew, you conceptualized it from Chuck's role at the Down Low, from Heroes of Extinction. So, number one, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to be able to interview all these amazing people, and of course, to pick your brain on everything from the beginning.
Oh, you're welcome. Pick away.
All right, so let's start. Let's start off with Theme Parkology. Themeparkology.com is how it kind of all started. How many years has it been running, and what was the idea behind it?
Growing up, I always wanted to learn as much about Disney and the parks and the attraction as possible. Back in the 70s and 80s, we didn't have the internet. We didn't have, things where we could look up cell phones and find it instantly. So you literally had to go to libraries and read newspapers and go to the parks, and they had pamphlets, and you kind of had to hope that they'd give you some kind of information regarding the parks, the attraction, what's coming. And even back then, it was very, very little information. Fast forward to the new millennia when it's computer time, the computer craze, and you can easily access any information you want. I thought, well, you know what? I'd like to learn more about the attractions. And then I thought, well, why not share it with the world? So I created a company called Theme Parkology, where we can do documentaries on theme parks and attractions and characters and legends and whatever else we could think of that would entertain the Disney community and inspire people to go to these wonderful parks. And at the same time, learn about the history. And we do interviews with people who worked in the park, such as Disney Imagineers or legends, or just people who worked there to help give us an idea of what it was like back then, what it was like building certain rides. And the company just kind of grew. I mean, it just kind of grew. Everyone loves it. And it's been, I want to say about 17 years now. I'm thinking, yeah, it's been a long journey. But
yeah, that's one heck of a journey. Now, let's take a step back in time because, you got your company created, you created your website, and you have, certain footage from the parks that you've pieced together into DVDs. But like you said, you've also interviewed certain cast members and even Imagineers that have put these rides together. Now, how did you get in contact with these people, and how did you get the interviews all set up?
Well, it all started with one lovely young lady, Margaret Carey, who was the original reference model for Tinkerbell, for those who don't know, for the original 1953 Peter Pan film, animated film. And I just finished doing my very first documentary, Disneyland 1955 to 1959. And I was looking to do another one, but something totally different. I didn't just want to go into another Disneyland decade series. I happened to come upon Margaret's name, and there was her website, and I had a contact, and she had a lovely assistant who I contacted, Linda Swisher, and she was kind enough to make the connection for me. Now, the interesting thing about at least it was back then, I don't know how it is now, but the interesting thing back then is if you're connected with one individual that's in this Disney circle, they pretty much link you to all the other people that are on board. There's like a group of circled people. So that led me to Terry Hardin, who's a Disney Imagineer.
Yes.
Yeah, and it led me to Rolly Crump, Bob Gurr, all these wonderful people. So I got to meet all these people. And what happened is after that, after I began the company, I started getting press passes to Disney-related conventions, and I would interview wonderful people, that just starting off. And as that happened, even more people were interested, and more people wanted to be interviewed. More people wanted to lend their talent in various ways, whether it be like, I know someone, or hey, can I write something, or hey, can I voice something, and that's just pretty much how I've just been very lucky to meet the right person at the right time that knows somebody that knows somebody, and so forth. So
Present day, we now have a website that has tons of DVDs. You have audio CDs, you have theme streaming with interviews with not just the people from Disneyland, but you also have interviews with people like Mary Gibbs and many, many, many others that you've met through these conventions and culminated into this one company that has just gone crazy.
yeah, like I said, I've been very blessed, very lucky to have met the right person who knows somebody. Or I actually contacted Mary for a project that I was going to do based on the attractions that's in Disney California Adventures, the Monsters Inc. attraction.
Mm-hmm.
And it literally took 2 years to make that happen. A lot of doing these interviews is a patient game. I mean, you have to be patient. You have to be on their schedule. And you have to just wait and hope. And not all of them, but most of them are like that. You have to have the patience to wait and do the interviews. When I did a podcast, I wanted to interview the voice of Meg, which is Susan Egan. And I had to, again, play the patient game, but not so long. And I got the interview and it paid off. I mean, it was just an amazing, amazing interview.
Well, and the networking is what's amazed me through this entire process about how you meet one person and they introduce you to another and it just keeps snowballing and it's still not stopping.
Yeah, that's what I've noticed from Theme Parkology rolling into Adventurous Ideas, which I know we're going to talk about right now.
Definitely.
And it just snowballs and it just gets bigger and bigger with no end in sight. I like today I'll meet someone and tomorrow I'll meet someone else. I mean, it's just fantastic that, people are actually interested in the projects that we're doing or the product that I'm selling. I like meeting people. That's the thing. I love meeting people. So I'm glad it's snowballing. I'm glad I keep meeting interesting and wonderful people. I'm really loving it.
Awesome. Well, let's not quite jump into AI just yet. We will get there, AI Adventurous Ideas, but let's go. We've talked about Theme Parkology and we've talked about the DVDs, the audio CDs, etc. But eventually it started evolving into audio programs, audio dramas. And I believe Dark Park was one of the first ones you've actually done.
That is correct.
Okay, so what was the concept behind it? I'm guessing it kind of evolved from the Theme Parkology into a dark theme park. From there, it also went into Heroes of Extinction. Tell me a little bit about how that morphed.
So this is the story, and I don't think anybody has actually heard the whole story. I think people have only heard part of the story or part of this other part of the story. But this is the story. The way it went down is I actually was coming up with an idea for an audio show. I wanted to do something different. I'd done a lot of DVDs and interviews and documentaries and ride-throughs and all these various different types of DVDs. And I wanted to do something totally different. I wanted to do an audio series. So I got together with my friend, Doug George. Boy, we spent a lot of time at a restaurant going over an idea for this show that I call Dark Park, which is an anthology of various stories that fit under one umbrella, much like Twilight Zone and those type of shows. But we spent a couple of weeks coming up with a story idea. And after a while, we said, you know what, let's make the story connect. It wasn't an anthology at that point. We were just going to make it a series and connect everything. But life has a funny way of pulling people away at times. He had some family business he had to. So after writing 2.5 scripts, he had to leave. And while he was gone, I actually took the first script and got actors to play some of the characters. And I put together the audio, and then I put together the sound effects and the music, and I put it all together. And I played it for him. He loved it. Unfortunately, he was still really crazy busy with family things. So I went ahead and started working on number 2. But what happened was I got a phone call from Peter Alden's girlfriend, Krista Joy, who said, hey, could you give Peter a call? He's going through a bad day today and he could use some cheering up and stuff. So I said, yeah, I'd be more than happy to. Peter and I have gone back for quite a ways, and we've worked on projects together. And I've helped him with some of his projects. Just a really great guy. So I called him up, and yeah, he was a little bummed, a little sad. I don't remember what the situation was at that time, but I thought I'd cheer him up by talking a little bit about, hey, you know what, I'm considering doing these audio series, and he kind of perked up a little bit and said, "Oh, tell me more." So I told him, and he was intrigued. But then I said, "You know what I'd like to do is I'd like to do an old 30s and 40s type of superhero action audio series." And that really got his interest because he was a big fan of the old comics, the old 30s and 40s comics. So I said, well, give me a day or two and I'll come up with a premise. So we hung up. He was happy. He couldn't wait. 2 days later, I came up with an idea about a guy, a superhero who was getting old and was having a hard time adjusting to it. It was that simple. So from there, Peter and I, we kind of like roughed off a couple of ideas. And I thought, I think I have something here. So I tapped a good friend of mine, Samantha Albin, who actually wrote the Pirates of the Caribbean documentary for Theme Parkology. And I tapped her shoulder and I said, I have this interesting idea, this interesting project. I want to turn it into an audio series. I said, well, let me just pitch the idea. And I told her all about it. And by the end of the conversation, she was on board. She's like, yeah, let me write this. So she did. And I started getting episodes from her that were just amazing. I mean, they were just so amazing. So I put together a cast at the time, and I had my good friend Andrew voice the narrator, and I started toying around with various actors, and we got Isaac Singleton Jr. to play Fractus, a villain, and it just kind of evolved a little bit. And again, things shifted. It shifted from that small Theme Parkology project that I just wanted to do to cheer up my friend into something bigger and something that I could share with not even a wider audience, but the world and people in need of a job or whatever the case may be. It just really, really evolved.
And it has jumped into something like that where you've met people like myself that were not necessarily somebody that you met at a con, but maybe a friend of a friend who said, yeah, I'd be interested in voicing a character here and there. And they, become a new contact of yours. They become a character on a show, and one opportunity jumps to the next, and all of a sudden somebody's got like this big role now.
Yeah. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, Heroes of Extinction was meant to be a fun, entertaining show on Theme Parkology. What happened was, again, things shifted, and it's become something much bigger. And it needed a platform that could handle something that big.
Okay, yeah. So now we've got this audio program for Dark Park, and did it ever become available on Theme Parkology?
What I did was I have a theme streaming platform on my website.
Right.
Okay. And there's a bunch of little shows that I put together. I mean, I have so many interviews, and I thought they're just being wasted sitting in the drive collecting virtual dust. So I thought, right, I create this theme streaming where people can go in and see these interviews all for free. And I did put Dark Park in there. I had an audio series tab that you could click on, and Dark Park episode 1 was available for people to listen to.
Hurry, hurry, hurry! Step right up, ladies and gentlemen. Feast your eyes on the amazing marvels to be found inside. We have rides, we have shows, we have wonders beyond belief. Experience the thrill of our spiral plunge roller coaster.
Ted, Christy, and Leo were teenagers out for the day at their local amusement park. It's now getting near the end of the day, and the lights of the arcade are bright and beckoning. At the arcade, the coming night makes all the lights seem brighter. But be careful, for if you use the dark token, you will enter the dark park. And it could be game over.
Game over. I don't think it's still available on Theme Parkology, but mainly because it's going to be evolving from there over to Adventurous Ideas, which we just announced last Thanksgiving. The site went live, and we kind of made this press release of all the different shows that are coming, and Dark Park is going to be one of them.
That's correct.
Awesome. So let's talk about the concept of Adventurous Ideas. You and Andrew, one night, and I know I've heard this story many times, but I want you to kind of tell it in your own words, how it came together, because you guys were kind of sharing the same brain that evening somehow. give me a little bit more background and tell everybody how it conceptualized.
Well, as the story went, I happened to be really getting involved with Heroes of Extinction, the characters, the editing, the music aspect of it too. James Presley did the music for me. So I've been really involved in this project, piecing everything together. And I slowly began to realize that this thing is bigger than what I thought it could be. And it was starting to evolve into something. And Andrew and I, we text each other almost every night. We're like little schoolgirls texting, giggling, laughing till like 1 or 2 in the morning. I mean, we text almost every day. And one particular day, I started texting him. I was starting to think that Theme Parkology was too small of a company for an audio show, because I started to think, well, this is going to be, it went from 5 to 6 to 7 episodes. So this is going to be something that's going to really need some platform to highlight it. And I thought, well, maybe it needs its own company. And I texted Andrew and I was like, hey, I think we should do something big with this. I was going to ask him if he could be my partner. I was going to ask him if I should turn it into a company. But for whatever reason, I deleted the whole text. And then 2 days later, Andrew and I happened to be texting. I shouldn't say happen to be, because we're always texting. And we were texting, and he said, hey, I want to ask you something. What do you think about maybe banding together to form a company to do these audio shows? And I was like, oh my God, I was just thinking that. And he said, yeah, I was thinking like 2 days ago, I started writing you. I said, 2 days ago, are you serious? And he said, yeah. And I was like, oh my God, 2 days ago, I did the same thing. It was just one of those weird coincidence. I don't know if you want to call it coincidence or fate or whatever, but it really did happen. We really were going to text each other about forming a company. And he asked me, well, what do you think? And I'm like, I think it's a great idea. But from that point on, we decided, okay, well, we'll have to rebrand Heroes of Extinction, because at the time it still was Theme Parkology. I was still going to put it on that platform, and I began to realize it's just too big for that. And so we rebranded it. And then I thought, well, you know what? I own Dark Park. Let's move that over as well. And so we brought that over. We rebranded that, and I actually did episode 2. Which is really good. And we just decided, let's make this company as big as we can.
And coincidentally enough, obviously, I mean, we're kind of speaking in past tense because these particular episodes of Lowdown at the Down Low have not been released yet, but they are going to be available on Adventurous Ideas.
Probably, if you're listening to this now, it's already probably been released. Is that weird?
Right. Of course. Yeah, I know. It's very strange. It's like time travel.
Traveling.
Not.
Yes, exactly.
And we've talked about this until, we just can't talk about it anymore. There's so many exciting things, and there are so many other projects on the horizon. Every day you keep telling me we've got a new writer, we've got a new story. What are we up to? 30 stories?
We are up to 38. 38 stories.
38.
Yes.
So that's grown. Just for the audience's general knowledge here.
Yeah.
The last time that you and I spoke about how many projects were, this was like a week ago. I think it was only at 30. And just within that week time, there's been 8 more added. This is how big this is getting.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the future of AI. It's not just Heroes of Extinction, which we talked about. That's not the only show. Besides that, in Dark Park, we also have Extinguished Worlds, which is the next on the horizon, I believe. And let's talk a little bit more about that one. I don't know how much you want to get into details, but you can share as much information as you wish.
Well, Extinguished Worlds is an interesting story that I came up with. I had just this idea of a hero that had the ability to go back in time. Originally, he didn't know he could go back in time. He thought he could only go forward into time, but then back to where he originally left. And I had this really great concept about the Earth in dire need of a hero. But then something personally happens to this particular hero, and he wants to fix it. He gets so angry. He goes back in time, and he wakes up and he realizes that, I went back in time and I can make a difference now, So I pitched the idea to a talented writer named Patricia Gilliam, and she loved my idea. So this is what I love about working with writers. I tell them the story idea, the concept, not even a timeline, because what happens is I give them as much information as I have, and then they take it and they build this world. I mean, this incredible world of characters and places and situations, scenarios, and what ifs and when it does happen, and all these wonderful things. They create this massive world and bring the characters literally to life. Extinguished Worlds was supposed to be 7 episodes, but it was so good and it was just growing that we turned it into 8 episodes. And it's just wonderful, wonderful story. So what's happened now is that the Extinguished World has evolved into a spinoff off of that original story based on 2 characters that are in the original story. And so
right, yeah,
it's just growing. It just keeps growing.
Yeah, and that's the great thing about this too, is that now we have writers talking to writers, and these characters, like you say, are merging from one story to another. And we, of course, also have Chuck the Bartender, which I love bringing up because I get to play Chuck, and he's going to be a character, and I think, and I'm going to say this because I think it's okay now, he's going to be in every story.
Yeah. What's amazing about this project, and not just this project, but other projects, is things just spawn out of nowhere. I mean, everybody really likes Chuck the Bartender, and I love Chuck the Bartender. Not necessarily the guy who voices him, but
oh my God,
character.
Here we go.
The character. I mean, everybody just loves Chuck. I mean, he's just an all around nice guy, and we had to put him in another show, and then maybe another show, and then before you know it, Andrew and I decided let's put him in not every episode, but in every show. Somewhere he'll appear in a show somewhere down the road.
Yeah, he's kind of like the Stan Lee almost. Well, maybe you're more of the Stan Lee guy, and I'm kind of like the, I don't know, what's could I be considered the watcher of the series?
Yeah, absolutely.
Where he sees everything that's going on. But the thing I always wondered is, does Chuck know? Is he omnipresent in all these stories, and he knows what's happening from one universe to the other?
Well, the way we see it, me and Andrew, is Chuck, there's a lot more to what people are listening to. There's a story behind Chuck. He has a story, and he knows a lot. We're not going to give it away just yet. But yeah, I mean, he's just a really, really good character to play with, and a really good character to have people listen to and fall in love with. He's just a great guy.
Okay, so the reason I made the reference that, you're probably more of the Stan Lee, because you do actually have a cameo appearance in Heroes of Extinction.
I do.
Yes, you do. So let's go ahead and play the clip of where you appear. And I want the audience to pay close attention to this clip and try to pick out where you hear Jerry. Let's listen.
Janessa watches as the officers run right by where he ducked out. She stands and waves her hands.
No. He went that way. He went that way.
No one hears her. She quickly nods. It's up to her. With a new resolve, she stands and chases after Fractus. She may be new at this, but if there's one thing she knows, it's that the bad guys shouldn't get away. The downtown alleyways are like a maze, and in a few minutes, she loses her bearings. She stops. Which way should she go next? A slow clap emerges from behind.
Well, that was a new experience. I've been around for quite a few years, and I don't recall ever running into you, little miss.
Yeah, well, I'm new.
Fractus nods and takes a few steps forward. Janessa steels herself and blows. The wind picks up and begins to howl.
Okay, so great clip. I don't know if anybody's caught on to exactly what your part was. I'm going to give a little bit of a dramatic pause here, and then I'm going to have you repeat your line. So, in case that didn't come up on the audio, yes, you just heard him clapping. So your cameo was, I believe it was Fractus, right? Who was doing the clapping, right. But it was actually you that dubbed in your clapping.
That's correct. And that actually happened by accident, because when we recorded Isaac's lines for Fractus, that part got left out. For those of you who are not familiar with Isaac Singleton Jr., he's an actor, does a lot of films, a lot of TV shows, Pirates of the Caribbean, Mandalorian. I mean, he's just all over the place. So I knew it was going to take a while to get a clip from him, even if it was just clapping. So I decided, well, everybody's always saying, you need to be in there somewhere. So I decided I'll do it. Why not? It's an award-winning piece. So, everybody will be talking about it for years. So yeah, why not?
It has to continue now. We have to do, the next one has to be like a whistle or, snapping fingers. I think we talked about during our last call, or maybe somebody clearing their throat, and it's always going to be something nonverbal. That's always going to be, okay, where did you hear Jerry in this episode?
And you never know. I do a lot of Easter eggs within the script itself. There's a scene in Extinguished Worlds where I wanted to pay homage to Prince, the singer, the famous Purple Rain singer. Yes. And he had recently passed away at the time, and I wanted to do something, a little Easter egg. So we actually have a room number on there, 319, as a part of an address that Caleb, the main character, remembers this address. And 319 is the number of the address. And that is actually a song that Prince wrote and produced and sang, 319. So I wanted to just do something simple like that. And I do things like that throughout the whole series. You never know what's going to pop up. But, if you're listening to it, keep in mind there might just be some hidden Easter eggs that I'll tell you about later down the road.
We should almost do another show about the Easter eggs, and just talk about the inspiration behind those and what happened. Because, these are audio series only. And usually when you get a DVD for a movie, there's a video clip of behind the scenes, and they talk about Easter eggs on those as well. I almost feel there should be some extra audio at the end of maybe the last episode to talk about the Easter eggs. And
yeah, we probably will. We probably will, just like we'll probably do bloopers or, things of that nature. You never know. Because there's so much going in. There's so many different people on this project that there's so much information and bloopers and secrets and homages and things like that we can put into the script, and that we probably will. We could probably do a whole show just on that.
Yeah, it's overwhelming, the number of things that are just coming down the pipeline. And every time that we have calls about this, or I see texts or messages about it, it's just super exciting. And I can't wait to be a part of all of these, as many as I can, obviously. Great projects, audio series, interviews, everything. So thank you again for thinking of this, and you and C. Andrew Nelson and, all the creative minds behind Adventurous Ideas. This is going to be big.
I'm lucky I'm one of the first people that gets to look at all these projects. Before they get into production, before they get greenlit, Andrew and I has to take a look at these scripts or ideas. People actually come up to us and say, hey, I got an idea. So we get to hear all that. And that's, to me, is just the fun part. I come up with stories almost every day. I get to write them down and ask Andrew, what do you think? Probably 9 times out of 10, the story gets, that's a good idea, Jerry. Keep working on it. But, I'm very blessed that I get to read so much wonderful stories from wonderful authors. It's incredible, the lineup that we have coming. 38, next week it might be 44 or...
you're going to have to start creating a separate library of files of all these different stories that people want to create.
And that's part of what I was saying earlier, how Adventurous Idea has evolved into something really big, to the point where we need to, as you know, we have teams now. We have a writer's team and a audio engineering team and
producer
team, editing team. And we have all these teams, merchandising team, promotional team. We have all these teams because Andrew and I, we just can't do everything. And we're surrounded by talent that we really want to utilize these talent. And I am all about credit. So I love to help people, and I'd love to just say, you want to edit something or you want to be a voiceover, let's give it a try.
Certainly.
But it's gotten so big that we can do that. We just started this company officially not long ago, and we've already gotten so many people. And that's kind of what this company is. It's about sharing people's dreams with everyone, and I know I come up with ideas, and Andrew has an idea, and I hear ideas all the time, but I've always told Andrew that every good story, any story really, begins with an idea, begins with the writer, and then it evolves into, I don't know if any of this makes sense, but it evolves into a finished product.
That's how a lot of these were realized is, well, hey, what if there's this character that does this and then this happens, and all of a sudden, before you know it, we've got a writer on it, we've got actors behind it, we're doing table reads, we are doing production, and bam, there's your idea realized. So amazing that we're able to reach out not only to the people that are already on the project, but to people who may want to actually dive into this for a living. I mean, look at me. I met you a couple of years ago, and I never really started on anything up until the point where I got the role for Chuck and a few others on Heroes of Extinction. Now I'm doing interviews, and I have other characters coming up in Extinguished Worlds, and
you also voiced Theme Parkology documentaries. You've done a few.
Oh yeah, I've done a few of those here and there.
A few of those, yeah.
Oh
yeah,
Peter Pan series, yeah. You're gonna have to tell me how he liked the Peter Pan series. You said you sent a DVD over to
Blaine.
Blaine, yes. I'm sorry. Blaine, I'm sorry, I forgot your name, but you're gonna have to tell me how he liked it, because I'd love the feedback. It's
yeah, no, he loved it. He loved the concept. He loved the writing. He just didn't like the narrator.
I figured, and I kind of knew that's where this was going. For those
kidding.
of you who are not aware,
I'm just kidding.
I know. And for everybody who's listening, this is just our usual banter. We've only been friends for a couple of years, but I feel like you've known you forever.
Yeah.
And you're my buddy, and
that's exactly right.
Regardless of where this company takes us, that'll never change. I mean, this is a family, and that's the great thing. It's not just a company; it is a family. We have a lot of great people, talented people, but they're also just great people in general. They've got their own stories, they've got their own ideas, and I can't wait to see how big our family gets.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And like I was saying earlier, I like to be involved in my family, my virtual family, my company family. I like to be involved, and that's why I joke with you all the time. I mean, you're like a brother, and I just love joking with you, and you reciprocate, and you're one of the few that keeps it going, and I love that.
Of course, you can't laugh at yourself. Who can you laugh at?
Well, if you can't have a good time working at what you love to do, then what are you doing? What do you
exactly? You
gotta have
love
fun.
you love what you do for a living. You never have to work a day in your life or something like that, right?
Yeah, that's exactly true.
All right, so we're gonna start wrapping this up a little bit. I think we're getting close to our time. Do you have anything you want to say in closing before we end it all?
Well, I really hope I get feedback from people who listen to some of the shows and tell us what they like, what they don't like, what characters they like, who they like to see more of or hear more of. Really have the audience involved with this company. This company is nothing without the talent behind each story and its fans. It's fan base that makes people want more. So I really hope we can hear from a lot of you fans out there.
Well, let's hope that we do actually hear from people. And I'm excited to see if anybody does give feedback that we actually use that and change it, because it's something that fans don't have a lot of say in when it comes to movies nowadays. People have a problem with something or they have suggestions. It's just the way it is. But It'd be great to see a company that can actually grow and evolve, not just based on its employees, but also based on its fan base.
Right. And I'm sure you can attest to the fact that when you come on board as a voiceover and you want to be an editor, we can make that happen. Or
and I'm looking forward to that. Yeah.
If you want to learn how to be a producer or an editor or casting agent, I mean, we can help you do that as well. We're one big family helping each other. And I think that's kind of the backbone behind this company, is that we're all family. We're all here to do a job and get the project done. But after that, we all celebrate together. We're all, show up at Chuck the Bartender's bar and have a drink and, toast to Adventurous Ideas and the next story, whatever that might be.
I will definitely drink to that. So let's go ahead and end it on that note. Jerry, thank you so much for finally, and I mean finally, agreeing to do the interview. It's been a while, but I know you wanted to wait until the company was actually completely out there and the site was live before doing all this. So I know it's been sort of like a long wait, but thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today and to share with all the fans.
Oh, no problem. It's my pleasure. It's a shame that I'm going to have to edit it to 1 or 2 words, and then.
Are we going to do the thing now where we do somebody else's voice over mine so that it's not me doing the interview? It's you.
It'll be a Jerry Lewis or Don Knotts type of character.
Hey, lady. So, for those who would like to actually go to the website, can you tell us where they can get to Adventurous Ideas?
Absolutely. You guys can all go to the website at adventurousIdeas.com. You can catch us on Facebook at facebook.com/Adventurous Ideas LLC. You can reach us at Instagram at instagram.com/Adventurous Ideas LLC. Twitter, you can find us at twitter.com/Adventurous for you. And at YouTube, you can click on over to youtube.com/Adventurous Ideas.
All right. So thanks everybody out there for joining us. I hope you had a great time listening. I hope you are as excited as we are to see what's on the horizon for Adventurous Ideas and all the amazing stories and people you're going to meet during that time. Here's hoping you'll join us again for another one at the Down Low. Cheers.
All great stories begin with adventurous ideas.